It's not a program. That is a problem with extra step.
Out of the blue, a spark or two seem to generate. Now
So, in October 2025, Prabowo Subianto and Gibran Rakabuming were officially elected as Indonesia's new president and vice president. And one of the first major policies launched under Prabowo's Astacita agenda was MBG program, which stands for Makan Bergizi Gratis or Free Nutritious Meal. The program was designed to provide free meals to school-age children and vulnerable groups across Indonesia, with the goal of reducing chronic malnutrition and stunting. But more than a year has passed since the program was launched. The public response has been far from positive. The question now is whether this program should still be given universally to all students, including those from wealthy families, even when they reject the meals. So, with my essay, today we will discuss both sides of the argument before concluding that the program in its current form should not be continued universally until serious improvements are made. Before we continue further, there are some valid reasons to support the idea of giving the MBG program to all students, regardless of their economic background. And first, a universal approach can help remove the social stigma that comes with targeted welfare programs. When free meals are only given to students from low income families, those students may feel embarrassed or singled out in front of their peers. So, by giving the same meal to everyone, the program treats all students equally and avoids that kind of social pressure. Check, I mean, Second, the program has real potential to boost local economies. The ingredients from MBG meals are sourced from local vendors such as MKM seller and farmers and fishermen. This means that every meal served also support the livelihood of people in surrounding communities. Because the wider the distribution, the greater the economic impact, right? And third, the program creates employment on a large scale. As of June 2026, President Prabowo has established more than 20,000 SPPG units spread across all 38 provinces in Indonesia. This unit requires workers to operate, which directly contributes to job creation at the local level. And from this perspective, universal distribution is not just about nutrition, it is also a tool for economic development. And that is a goal worth taking seriously. But however, when we look at how MBG has actually been running, the problems are difficult to ignore. According to Professor Sri Raharjo, a food and agricultural technology, who is an expert from Gajah Mada, food poisoning incident within the MBG program happened almost every month throughout 2025. This is not a minor issue. It shows that the program was rolled out on a massive scale before the basic system for food safety were properly in place. A program that cannot guarantee the safety of its own meal should not be expanded further before those problems are fixed. The budget situation also tells a troubling story because in 2026, the program's budget was cut from 335 trillion down to 268 trillion as part of national efficiency measures. That cut happened partly because the program was distributed too fast and too wide without sufficient planning. Beyond the data, the public has spoken clearly. On Labor Day, 1 May 2026, President Subianto asked people at the event what they thought of the MBG program. And their answer was direct no.
MBG bermanfaat atau tidak? Itu sangat penting untuk anak-anak kita.
That moment was not just awkward. It was a sign that the government has not been listening to the people. It is supposed to serve. More broadly, forcing the same meal on every student, including those who do not want or need it, ignores a basic truth that people have different needs, preferences, and circumstances. Treating everyone the same does not always mean treating everyone fairly. Indonesia is still a developing country with many urgent priorities across education, healthcare, public services. And pouring money into one program that has not proven itself yet without listening to public feedback or conducting proper evaluation is not a wise use of national resources. Because the MBA program was built on good intention, which is to fight malnutrition, support local economies, and create jobs. These are goals that many Indonesians can agree with. But good intention alone are not enough to justify a program that has caused food poisoning incidents, faced budget cut, and be openly rejected by the public, giving the same meal to every student, rich or poor, willing or not, without any real evaluation or feedback process is not equality. It is uniformity forced on people who were never properly consulted. So I strongly disagree with continuing the MBA program universally in its current state. Before it can be justified as a national policy for all students, the government must first fix the safety issue, listen to citizen feedback, and prove that program actually works for the people it is meant to help. So yeah, you can call it a free meal, but if people are getting sick, the budget is getting cut, and the public saying no to your face, it's not a program. That is a problem with extra step. Thank you. So, as we know that online learning has become a major part of education over the past few years, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic forced school and universities to move their classes to digital platforms. And in Indonesia, millions of students suddenly had to adapt to learning through their phones or laptops, often without proper preparation. Even after the pandemic ended, online learning did not disappear. Many institutions kept using digital platforms as part of their regular teaching methods. This shift has brought both benefits and problems for students. And with my essay today, we will explore the main causes behind the rise of online learning and examine its positive and negative effect on student learning experience. There are So there are three main reasons why online learning grew so rapidly. And the first is technology, of course, because the widespread of use of smartphone and affordable internet access made it possible for students to attend classes from anywhere. Platforms like Zoom, Google Classroom, and YouTube became everyday tools for both teacher and student. And the second reason is the COVID-19 pandemic. When the Indonesian government ordered school to close in 2020, educational institutions had no choice but to switch to online classes almost overnight. This forced millions of students and teachers to get familiar with digital learning very quickly. And third is the need for flexibility because many students in Indonesia live far from their campus or come from areas where access to quality education is limited. Online learning gave them a way to continue studying without having to move to a different city or spend money or transportation and accommodation. Because these three factors together push online learning from being just an option to becoming a major part of how education works in Indonesia today. And online learning has brought some real benefits for students, and the most obvious one is convenience. Students now no longer have to commute to campus every day, which saves both time and money. And for students who live far from their university or who have other responsibilities, this flexibility make a big difference. Online learning also gives students more control over how they study. They can rewatch recorded lecture, pause when they need to take notes, and review materials as many times as they need. This is something that is simply not possible in a traditional classroom. And in addition, online learning has opened up access to education For students in remote areas of Indonesia who previously had a very limited option, as long as they have an internet connection, they can access the same material as students in big city. And this benefit that online learning, when it works well, can genuinely support students in ways that offline education sometimes cannot. And however, online learning also comes with serious problems that cannot be ignored. And the biggest issue in Indonesia is unequal access to the internet. Many students, especially those living in rural areas like part of Lombok, Papua, or Maluku, struggle with unstable or non-existent internet connection. When a student cannot load a lecture or keep their connection during a live class, they are not learning online. They are just being left behind. And another major problem is the lack of motivation and focus. Because in a physical classroom, student feels a certain pressure to pay attention. There are peers around them and teacher watching and a fixed schedule to follow. But online learning remove all of these elements. Students are at home, surrounded by distraction, and there is to remind them to stay focused. For many students, this makes it very easy to procrastinate or disengage from class entirely. On top of that, online learning makes it harder to collaborate with classmates. The spontaneous discussion, group work, and informal conversation that happen naturally in a physical classroom are difficult to replicate through a screen. These are no small losses. They are important parts of the learning experience that many students miss when they study online. And online learning grew because of technology and the pandemic and the need for flexible education. It has given students more convenience and better access to material and new ways to learn, but it has also created serious challenges, including the digital divide, loss of motivation, and reduced collaboration. And the truth is that online learning works well for some students and poorly for others. And the gap that often comes down across to access and self-discipline. For Indonesia to make online learning truly effective, it is not enough to just provide the platform. The government and institution need to make sure that every student has the tools, the connection, the support they need to actually learn. And a screen is not the same as education. However, online learning did not fail us. We just were not ready for a classroom with no walls and no one watching, right? So I think that's all from me. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you get better insight from my essay. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.